Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Folks and Friends, a podcast by Folks Finance. Here, we invite the brightest builders, creators, and thought leaders to talk blockchain, tech, finance, and everything in between. I'm your host, Ibu Karel. Let's learn something together. Assets discussed on Folks and Friends may be held by participants of the podcast. This podcast is purely educational and not intended as advice. Enjoy the episode. Welcome, everybody. This is Folks and Friends, episode 12. Today we have Bada from Dokkaebi, co-founder of that NFT series. We'll give you a second to introduce yourself. Just a moment. Before we get really into it, if all the audience, please drop a retweet on the space. Definitely trying to get as many people here as possible, and also to win any of the prizes. So we're giving away one Dokkaebi and one 1000x algo during this space. So what I need you to do, you guys in the audience, is fill out the Galaxy quest that was posted on the Folks Finance page, also posted on the Dokkaebi page. Whoever's on the Folks Finance account, if you could find that tweet, put it up in the top of the space so the listeners can hear it. I'll mention this a couple times. Just fill out the Galaxy form so you can register. You're going to have to retweet some stuff and you could win either the NFT or 1000x algo. Both of those things are worth about $170. So pretty good for coming to a space, pretty good prizes, right? Let's just get into it. We don't have too many audience members, but I think a couple more will filter in. So welcome everybody again. This is Folks and Friends, episode 12. I'm Ibu Karel, head of partnerships at Folks Finance, of course, joined by Benedetto Biondi, CEO of Folks Finance. Glad to have made it to a dozen episodes. Ben, we had Gialgo and Friends. I think we got to like 17, 16 episodes. Now in Folks and Friends, we're getting up there, and I'll be pretty happy when we make it to a new all-time high of episodes for a show. Ben, you there?
Yes, same here. Welcome to Bada for our new space. Pretty excited to have a new ecosystem guests. It's always nice to expand and cross-pollinate communities. And we can keep this.
Let's get it going. We have Bada here, co-founder of Dokkaebi, which is a hot new series, new NFT series that just launched on Avalanche. So, Folks Finance obviously just expanded, or maybe not obviously, some of you audience members may know, some may not. We just expanded to Avalanche with Xalgo. We're going to be doing a lot more over there. So we were really happy to be able to connect with Dokkaebi, super promising series over there, and kind of link up for some giveaways to each other's communities. So beyond just the space, there's another giveaway going away. Check that out in the Galaxy, but let's get beyond that. Bada, how you doing today? Thanks for joining us. Please introduce yourself to the audience. Happy to have you here.
GM. Thanks for having me, guys. Apologies in advance if I have any grumbly voice or anything like that. I just got off a plane from Hawaii to New York, so I'm a little all over the place, but very excited to have this conversation with you. Can you give me a bit of background about the Dokkaebi project? We are a Korean-focused NFT project that is based off the fictional folktale character, the Dokkaebi, which is essentially a goblin in Korean folklore. We minted on AVAX about 9 days ago, I believe. It's the culmination of a 2-year process. And it's just been a ton of fun getting to know the community and then starting to do phase 2, which I'm sure we'll discuss.
Yeah, I'm eager to get into the details. So you said you've been working on this for 2 years. It's actually, that's surprising. It's more time than I expected. Not that I expected it to be shorter in a way, but I'm more wondering, for 2 years, how do you start going about drafting an NFT series, or how did you go about creating the idea? Who came up with the idea? What are the origins of the series?
Yeah, absolutely. So the foundation of the project came from my co-founder Gamja and I. We had gone to school together here in New York, and I had had a startup previously. He had worked at tech startups as well. Always wanted to build something together, and he had the idea of creating this Korean-inspired NFT project since he was born in Seoul himself. And we just saw an opportunity to create a project based around or based for and honoring the Korean market, and two, to explore this character of a Dokkaebi. So I will say something a little bit untraditional about our project. It's very much like a character-based project rather than a standard PFP. I think that to get into the psychology of PFPs a little bit, like a lot of times people purchase PFPs or purchase NFT art to make it a reflection of themselves and their identity online, on Twitter, etc. And ours is very much about the character and the development of that IP in the American and Korean markets. So that was always the intention. In terms of the timeline, we just took it slow and steady. So we put a lot of thought into our art. We did a lot of research around Korea, around the Dokkaebi and the Joseon dynasty specifically, and just designed our traits and designed the collection to be very focused and angled towards developing this IP character.
So you're kind of touching upon maybe the larger scope, larger vision for Dokkaebi. What kind of medium do you think these characters could apply to first? Is it like an anime or a game? I think those are two common directions. Maybe not common, but explored directions for NFT series so far. Where do you see Dokkaebi applying in like a larger pop culture sense?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're asking that question, because definitely our approach is to grow this character brand and develop it in IRL, essentially in traditional Web2 media, commerce, and mindshare. I think the most straightforward way of developing a character in the modern world is online. So before we delve into things like manhwa, which is the Korean version of manga, or animation, or video games IP, first we just want to establish the foothold of Dokkaebi within the online social media. And I think you see a lot of opportunity of that within the Korean and Asian markets, within Korea and Japanese and Asian social media. And that's not something that's really been done within the NFT ecosystem. Definitely we're following, I'd say, like the Pudgy Penguins and Azuki model for developing an NFT project, more so than, let's say, the Gods or like Bored Ape model, which is a little bit more crypto Twitter focused, a little bit more like leveraging hype and pumping communities to try and then go and create something, create a product. Our approach is essentially to grow the character in the mass market on social media first, and then leverage that in a number of different ways.
Okay, super interesting. I want to circle back to tell us more about, I want to kind of build the story. So tell us more about how, once you came together with Gamja, you knew him from before. You guys decided that you wanted to make a project. You settled on the theme. So when it came down to creating everything, did one of you two or a team member do the art, or did you find an artist for that? And how did you select Avalanche for the chain to be, the home for Dokkaebi?
Yeah, absolutely. So very shortly after Gamja and I met, we found our other co-founder, an artist, Ken, who is a really talented creative director, designer, animator. And then our fourth team member, Ori, who we met at NFT NYC, who's a blockchain developer and another member of the core team on the more of the product side. So I'd say the first year was pretty much dedicated, slow and steady, to building and designing the collection. And then the second half of the timeline was essentially finding the right ecosystem and looking at the right market conditions in order to launch. You got to remember, this is deep bear market. We were very meticulous and thoughtful about the time that we were going to launch and where, because we wanted to build a successful IP product. And it's very difficult to do that if market conditions are poor. And so essentially what drove us to the Avalanche ecosystem was the resurgence of it. And also the program Avalanche. So Avalanche is a program sponsored by Ava Labs. It's essentially an incubator program for NFT artists, the vast majority of which are just individual artists that may not have a lot of experience with blockchain technology. We obviously had a little bit more experience. I've been in the space for a long time, but it was just a great opportunity to get mentored by successful projects and also have that kind of personal guidance from the Ava Labs team. So all those decisions, along with the surge of NFT projects within Avalanche, made our decision pretty easy about where to launch.
Tell us about how you felt leading up to the mint. You know, how'd you feel? What was going on? Were there any last minute crazy fires you had to put out? I can imagine that leading up to a mint, getting a mint organized is a pretty intensive process because there's a lot of moving parts involved. Can you tell us about that process and what it was like right before?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, a huge shout out to the last member of the team that I haven't mentioned yet, but the Avalanche ecosystem would know very well, and that's Trading Aloha. He is, we'll have some news about him and his role within the team in a good way, in a great way. But he was instrumental to us getting to mint day, to first onboarding Avalanche OGs. That was really important to us because I think with this new interest, new liquidity that was getting pumped into the Avalanche market, a lot of the OG builders and communities within Avalanche kind of weren't getting the shine that I think they necessarily deserved. And it was really important to us that we incorporate those AVAX OGs into our community as soon as possible. So the first thing that we did was invite just OG communities, OG NFT communities within Avalanche, and gave them OG status, which is actually like a discounted mint and guaranteed mint for the Dokkaebi project. So Trading Aloha was a huge factor in our success in terms of creating a community, creating interest within the mint. And then, yeah, just leading up to the mint, we had a ton of fun with the marketing. I don't know if you saw any of like the Adult Swim style bumps, but just had a ton of fun kind of creating this mysterious vibe and doing some fun marketing activations. And then we were planning on minting in December, but essentially we were blocked from doing so from partners and just things happening. And so that was probably the most stressful part about it, or not stressful, but the most we had to adapt, because we were ready to go and then they basically weren't able to launch or mint until January. And then the day of it was just like an overwhelming sense of excitement and gratitude, and also like, holy shit, we just minted out in a minute and 36 seconds, which was wild.
Right. Yeah. It was the fastest ever full mint out on Avalanche in history, correct?
I believe so. We said that scale of the number of NFTs minted.
Yeah, pretty unbelievable. You guys put I think about maybe 300 to the OGs. You did a couple hundred for your treasury. So when the full whitelist opened up, it was maybe 2,900 pieces, I believe, and each of those for 6 AVAX, all sold in, like you said, 96 seconds. Pretty incredible. And for anyone in the audience, you can put those numbers together and possibly get an idea of how successful this series was on the mint.
Yeah, it was incredibly successful and beyond what we expected. We were sitting together on a group call looking at the Hyperspace Mint page, and it was just kept going faster and faster and faster.
Probably losing your minds, right? Like I can imagine just how crazy that would be.
Yeah, imagine, yeah, the emotions, right? For 2 years of work, and then seeing that just be so received so well. You know, there are things that we learned from that process that if we were ever to do a mint again, I think we would incorporate. it's always important to us to make as fair as possible. I think that in retrospect, we potentially could have lowered the max mint number. I think we did a really great job of like distribution, because we still have a really solid distribution in terms of unique holder count. And that was always important to us. But, there are things you learn from. Ultimately, our goal was to make this as fair as possible and make it accessible.
Yeah, and I think you guys just did an amazing job. Now you have, I would guess you have some type of nice, initial revenue to build on. Is that a nice feeling to know that you have a runway potentially? Is that something you're planning to use, or are you guys even trying to go into even further and possibly raise funds in an external round for building the IP?
Yeah, well, you said it exactly. It's all about runway preservation. We're all tech people. I had a startup that I exited on. We're very conscious about what it takes to run a successful project. I can kind of break it down for you if you like, but essentially, runway is the key to survival for any business. And NFT projects are a business. And if you don't create sustainable revenue streams beyond holders, you're never going to be able to survive in the long term. And ultimately, that's what we want to do. We want to create an empire around this Dokkaebi character and reward holders for their initial appreciation of the art and what we're doing.
Yeah, and it's only been, week 2, so there's so much time to fill in everything that you guys are trying to build into the vision. I'm going to quickly remind the audience, hey, we had a bunch of people come in since we started the space. Welcome, everybody. This is Folks and Friends. I see a lot of Avalanche and Algorand people here. I love this. We're doing a giveaway. We're going to be doing a giveaway for people who attend this space. You can either win 1 Dokkaebi or 1,000x algo. Like I said in the beginning, both those things are worth about $170 each. So check out the link that I put at the top of the space. Fill out the Galaxy form. You have until 25 minutes from now to get into it, or else it'll close. So go ahead. All you got to do is retweet some stuff, retweet the posts for this space, and you could win. So just a reminder about that. And I will be making sure that the winners were in the space. Back to the business at hand. NFTs, for me personally, my personal opinion, I was worried about NFTs during the bear market. I was worried that I guess PFPs and the NFTs that really hit the mainstream, by which I mean like PFPs and IP and all the examples from the last cycle. I wasn't sure if new series that were trying to accomplish a similar goal would be able to come and thrive in this new market environment. So seeing the success of Dokkaebi really, just kind of blew my mind, but also opened my eyes to believe like, okay, maybe there is a lot more life here, a lot more interest, a lot more demand than I thought. What would you say to anybody who might be in the audience, who might be thinking of creating an NFT series, or even just another product, but specifically the NFT series? How did you go about driving demand, driving adoption? What did you do to make sure that it minted out so fast?
So I think there's 2 factors here, or maybe 3. The first is the macro conditions that the Avalanche ecosystem has put in place. I think that the use of hyperspace, the liquidity incentive program, and also just the fact that we're about to enter a bull market again is creating good market conditions for launching new projects. Number 2, with that in mind, I think that the the now veteran NFT consumer is able to spot good projects from bad projects. Case in point is the Dwight Howard Ballers event. That whole fiasco was really, really wild to watch. And also they minted the day before we did. So we were like, what is going to happen? Because, you've seen celebrities come in and extract a bunch of liquidity from the market and take away from good projects. But I think the NFT consumer on Avalanche was able to tell that, Dokkaebi is a really well thought out and focused cultural project And that would be my advice for new project holder or new project developers is whatever it is, pick something that you really care about, make it organic, put in the time and the effort to create something that is relevant and, aligned with your cultural goals. And culture can be anything, right? Like, I think we obviously have a Korean focus. Steady is a great example of like kind of an American barstool sports vibe. But it can even just be like a rallying cry around being a degen or around a character or a passion, like a shared passion for a sport or anything. And I think those are the type of communities and the type of projects that are now going to thrive in this NFT V2 market.
Yeah, definitely a strong theme, some type of vision or larger goal. Definitely appeal to potential minters a lot more than just a random art project. I think we did like the whole industry has evolved beyond the art projects mostly, but I think I could be wrong again. I was wrong about NFTs before.
Yeah, I do think. Sorry, not to interrupt you, but
No, go ahead.
I do think like we have to go beyond crypto Twitter and the NFT ecosystem, and that is like our number one priority is creating a brand that lasts and has a real world impact that again drives downstream value to the holders. And like I really hope, if my hope for the NFT ecosystem on Avalanche is one thing, is that all of the projects that were supported by holders and investors are able to go and do that and have a plan for creating actionable value for the ecosystem.
Yeah, you led me perfectly into the next thing I was going to ask about, which is we saw huge success for Steady. Then you guys followed up with even bigger success. Why do you think NFTs on Avalanche are seeing a renaissance right now, a boom? What could have been the factors that went on behind the scenes in the months or years building up to January 2024 that created all this like positive sentiment and positive market activity?
Two things. The first is organic, like organic builders within the Avalanche community and the Avalanche ecosystem. There have been a lot of overlooked projects for a long time here. Like Chicken is a great example, not overlooked, but like there's a lot of really good devs and a lot of really good projects with really strong communities on Avalanche, Chicken, Wolfie, etc., Furry Friends. This is like, we have the foundations of everything that you need to have a strong NFC ecosystem. And I think that Dom and Ava Labs did an excellent job with the liquidity incentive program in hyperspace to kind of capture that lightning in a bottle and then turn on the jet fuel, so to speak. And I think those are the two things that made it happen.
Yeah, there's just like a lot of great things. Avalanche is really cooking right now, and it's great to see. Got only a couple minutes left, so one more time, I'll remind you guys at the end of the space, but just check out the link at the top if you want to take part in the giveaway. You got 15 minutes to enter. You could win a Dokkaebi or 1000x algo. Yeah, as we go a little toward our conclusion, tell us about maybe anything that you would want to share about what's coming up for the series, or things we may not have touched upon that you would want to bring to the forefront.
I can actually stick around a little bit longer if you want to keep going. But yeah, I'm on.
Cool. Let's do it. Well, yeah, let's. I'm happy to keep going. We were talking about this NFTs overall. What do you consider to be the state of NFTs overall, and to take into account not just projects such as your own projects that are successful, but considering all the projects that may not have seen the same level of success, that may still be trying strategies or may not find the perfect way to reach their target market. How do you see NFTs developing, or the NFT scene, let's say over the next year or two, and what direction in general do you think it's going toward more? Is it like gaming? Is it IP? Is it there's a lot of ways that you could go with this question.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, right? Like, I have my personal feelings about it, and obviously that kind of shapes the direction that Dokkaebi is going. I think I'm seeing two primary routes right now, which is one, the like Pudgy Penguins, Luca model, which is developing that IP, merchandising it, developing the real world brand. Doodles might be another example of that, Azuki. And then there's also the Bored Ape, let's go build a Web3 product. And I think that either way, these are all startups, and startups just on their own have a high risk factor of failure. That's just the reality of a startup. And so I hope that the state of NFTs is that the teams that are coming in launching these projects are competent, right? And have really put in the thought about what they're going to build, how they're going to execute it, and how they're going to manage runway and all the kind of boring, difficult stuff about running a business. The last one is actually just like the emergence of the meme token, and I wonder if the NFT project will have a resurgence of the same thing, where there is no utility, there is no roadmap, there is no startup. It's just about creating a culture, and that actually was the original intention with Dokkaebi in terms of our marketing. Like, we've always wanted to build things, but we called it redacted, right? Because we never wanted to promise that we were going to build things. So I do think that there is going to be a resurgence of just like, hey, this is fun. This is about art. This is about culture. This is about chaos. And, but yeah, I think in terms of like the evolution of NFTs, at least from a builder's perspective, I really do hope that people are going to come correct with how they do things.
Yeah, I also would like to ask our guest something. First of all, I'm very amused with what you said, because I think you guys are one of the proper, real serious NFT collection, builders overall. Like you thought over it. Like, you put all the startup genius into an NFT collection, which sometimes what they see overall is mostly art, and that's not enough, right? If you want to build something sustainable, as you said. So, congratulations from my side. I'm not an NFT expert, not even an art expert, but I do appreciate startups that are successful. So, from that side, you have my congrats. I just wanted to kindly ask you, like, because most of the audience here is also Algorand, right? If you could, let's say, do an overview over the NFT marketplaces on Avalanche, the NFT scene in general, like, maybe they are interested, but they don't know much. Like, how would you suggest to do the first step in the ecosystem?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for the kind words. Avalanche is, for one, just an amazing technical ecosystem. If you're not familiar with it, it was differentiated through Avalanche Consensus and the Snowman Plus algorithm that was developed by Goon and Kevin Signecki while they were at Cornell as PhDs. And it quickly thrived in 2021 with kind of like a DeFi era, DeFi boom with Rush. And then they also had like an early NFT scene as well, primarily led by the NFT platform JPEGs. There's a couple different NFT platforms on Avalanche now. Hyperspace is now the main one, which was imported over from Solana. And in partnership with Ava Labs, they developed this thing called what is it called? The Liquidity Incentive Program, or the Hyperspace Points Program, which is essentially the idea that if you trade NFTs on Hyperspace, you are given points, which then can be redeemed for AVAX. So it's kind of like a Rush type DeFi incentive liquidity program, and that has really boosted the amount of volume on the Avalanche ecosystem in NFTs. I think we're now top 5, I could be wrong, but like top 5 NFT ecosystems in all of blockchain. And as we've kind of discussed already, as volume and liquidity increase, so does attention. And I think this is what's creating this positive feedback loop of interest of new projects coming in. They're seeing Avalanche as a juicy place where they can mint, which is leading to higher teams coming and then launching and et cetera, et cetera.
So I've heard some people disagree. You described the hyperspace point system, the benefits of it. Some people don't like it because a lot of extra trading was happening. Do you think that even with that caveat, it's still worth it to, as you said, increase some of those key metrics, which end up bringing more attention and kind of creating the positive feedback loop? So you have maybe a little bit of you have to accept a little bit of negative to receive a whole lot of positive. I guess that's kind of how I see it. But what do you think of the system overall? I mean, I know you minted on hyperspace, so you probably have a different view of it.
No, I'm pretty realistic and jaded about blockchain in general, to be honest, just from a personal standpoint. So like, I think there's definitely good and bad, right? As with all aspects of this industry, but I think that it was definitely the needed shot in the arm to be the catalyst for growth within Avalanche NFTs. So on the whole, I would say that it's definitely for the best. And now it's just the responsibility of the teams and of Ava Labs and of everyone to try to raise the caliber of the projects that are going to be built here. Because ultimately, that's what it's about, right? Like liquidity will rotate, it will fade, it will dry up. What's going to remain is the builders and the things that they create. So for us, we're just trying to play our role and build something sustainable and good and support other builders who want to do the same.
So I have more knowledge than you guys.
Yeah.
Can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I wanted to ask Bada what he thinks about cross-pollinating NFTs and DeFi as we did, and how do you see this happening on on Avalanche? Because we have been always trying to push this very much in the Algorand ecosystem. We did many collaboration, like we integrated our G-Algo, the liquid staking asset of Algo into the different marketplace. So we always pushed ourselves to do collaboration and cross-pollinating. How this is being done on Avalanche? How is it under? I'm curious to learn from you.
Yeah. So actually, this is not my area of expertise, so I would love to learn more about it myself. I think that there's definitely a ripe opportunity to mix in NFTs and DeFi. Particularly interested in like RWAs, real world assets. Mina Swap is a luxury clothing RWA protocol platform that mixes in NFTs and DeFi as well. But I'm not like super familiar with this space, so I've had not bad experiences with it, but like Bada was probably the most infamous example of this from the last cycle. That was pretty wild. So long story short is that I just don't feel totally qualified to speak as an authority about this space within Avalanche, but I'm definitely interested in it, and I'd love to see more builders do it.
But nevertheless, you were talking with Ibu and you made the collaboration with folks. So I can tell you that you are already more interested in it more than, let's say, the average NFT project. So, and this is good, like, because of course we are all in the same ecosystem, which is Web3, right? So it makes sense to us always to join forces with the different fields, so to not have isolated community, but rather cross-pollinate each other.
Yeah, I would actually turn that, because us as a team, we're very interested in what folks is doing. So maybe I'd turn the question back to you: is where do you think that this lane is going, and how would you like to see it develop within Avalanche?
Can I repeat that? Yes, just I want very quickly to answer. I'm not that expert yet into the Avalanche system. We are exploring slowly. So I don't know the scene, but for example, I can tell you what we were trying to do on Algorand, and it's still on the mind, right? But now it can expand even in the cross-chain narrative, which is the NFT lending, which is a platform where both peer-to-peer or peer-to-pool NFT holders collateral to take loans, and that's just one example to merge the DeFi liquidity with the NFTs community in order to allow the value that is behind the NFTs to be used as a collateral class. Please move on.
Yeah, definitely. Financializing NFTs is going to be something that continues to grow. So that's one of the ways that NFTs can meet DeFi, but DeFi can also come and meet NFTs in certain places, like even in non-financial ways, like aesthetics. Let's say Dokkaebi establishes partnerships with a bunch of different Avalanche DeFi apps. So when you are holding a Dokkaebi in your wallet, you get a different skin, like on the background of the app, or you can see your character in the corner of the screen, like reacting to what you do on the app. Just kind of out of the box ways that that NFTs, art, and finance can come together, because like Ben said, it's all under this bigger umbrella. We're all part of the same team at the end of the day, trying to grow the whole blockchain industry. So however these unorthodox collaborations come together, I think it's always a net benefit, especially because the NFTs and DeFi have crossover, but some people stay stay most of their time in NFTs. Some people stay most of their time in DeFi. So to bring those together is it's always a benefit. And then additionally, we're going to get closer to gaming. So instead of like a real world asset, I guess it's like a digital world asset, a skin for a gun, or even like an in-game item. Those things are going to be something. It's like half art, half financial asset, half like usable product. So it's just those, once you get into that territory and thinking even more outside the box, or the next couple steps of where the tech can go, DeFi, NFTs, it all kind of starts blending into one big bucket. So I'm excited over the next couple of years. I think those partnerships and ways that NFTs and DeFi platforms can work together are going to become more clear and going to get more out of the box. I'm excited.
I totally agree with that. Just from a purely technical application of NFTs, I think the opportunities are pretty limitless, especially when you start onboarding these RWAs as just tokens, right? And that's all an NFT is. I think, are you guys familiar with Shrapnel? They are doing
the shooter.
Yeah, exactly. They're doing first class work of implementing NFT tech into their game in a way that's like actually useful.
Yeah, Ben, I'll give you the quick summary of Shrapnel. It's a shooter game where essentially they use NFTs on Avalanche to represent valuable items in the game. So you can you have to extract like a bunch of like a suitcase or something, or a target, and that person or that item is represented as an NFT. So whichever player is in possession, it's tracked, and it has a bit more weight to it. It has a lot more weight to it. So just cool ways of exploring, bringing the money and the art together in a very interactive way. I want to just slightly pivot to a different subject, which is Dokkaebi is heavily inspired by Korean culture. Were you guys able to connect with the Korean community over there? I know you guys have Avalanche has a great Korean wing, Avalabs, and they were actually who connected me with you guys originally, so I'm appreciative of that. But what is the crypto scene like in Korea, and what was the Korean reaction to the series releasing?
Yeah, so we have a series of announcements that's coming on our own Twitter space on Friday, and we'll touch on this, but definitely the expansion into the Korean market, into the Korean crypto Twitter market is a number one priority for us. Gamja obviously speaks Korean, but it is a little bit difficult to break into those communities without having insiders as part of them, because they don't use the internet in the same way that the American and Western markets do. but we've been working very closely with the Ava Labs Korea team, and we are currently or have onboarded some exciting new hires to help us dive more into the Korean market. I think the difficulty with the Korean crypto market is that they're very degen, and can be quite siloed from the rest of the crypto Twitter ecosystem. And so it's been a bit of a challenge to break into that market, but got some exciting news to share in a couple of days about that.
So you guys have yet to even make your major push over there.
We have, dude, this entire project hasn't even started. That's when people give evaluations on like what Dokkaebi is or what it will be, and I just tell them we haven't even started. Like we've built the foundation, but you're gonna see a lot of growth in the next 6 months.
And if you're in the audience, you better be hyped up by that, because that's definitely a super hype statement. I mean, that's great to hear that you guys have a longer term plan. Remember, everyone in the audience, you can win a Dokkaebi for free just by being part of the space and doing the simple galaxy quests. I put the link up at the top of the space. I'm gonna mention it maybe one more time before we wrap up. You have 2 minutes to do it. It's gonna close at 12:45 Eastern, which is under 2 minutes. So if you're gonna do it now.
Can you drop that in our Telegram and we'll share it on our Discord too?
Yeah, sure. But it's you guys might run out of time because it's gonna close in like a very short amount of time.
All right, guys, if you're listening, then get on it.
Yeah. And also, I mean, we could drop it in the Telegram, but the winner will have to be an audience member here. So I'm taking screenshots of the audience right now. And once the winners are drawn on the Galaxy site, I'll be able to reference that on my phone, and I'll reach out to the winners. We got, 60 something, 70 something people. So not a bad chance of winning. Under one in 100. So yeah, not too bad. Okay. A couple more questions. How much time do you have left with us, Bada?
So I had something that I thought I had to go for, and now I don't. So as much time as
Cool. We'll fill out the hour then. What do you think the next breakthrough in NFTs will be from a tech perspective?
Yeah, I love that question. Kind of similar to what we had discussed, right? I think the incorporation of NFTs into games is a great first example for true ownership of digital assets. Is going to be the next big wave that we're going to see. The second one is going to be the onboarding of real world assets. It could be a tokenized home, like a deed to a house, or a NFT diploma, or a carbon offset credit that's tokenized on chain. I think that we're going to start seeing institutional use of NFTs on a mass market level in order to streamline and improve liquidity and increase efficiency across our financial markets. So for the retail, I guess the answer to that question is, for the retail consumer side, it's probably going to be true ownership of digital assets through video games. And for the more institutional enterprise side, it's going to be real world assets that are tokenized on chain.
That's one of Benedetto's favorite subjects, real world assets. What do you think, Bada, will be the first couple, maybe the first batch of real world assets that actually do get tokenized, just in theory? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's already happening right now, right? So I would check out High Yield, I believe is what they're calling on Avalanche. They're doing some great work in terms of tokenizing real estate and like REIT, primarily in the Asia market, I believe in Vietnam, maybe across APAC in general. I think if you want to look for where the future is happening, you gotta go to Asia, because the regulatory clarity of Asia is allowing people and businesses to actually implement this tech on a real world scale. I think sadly our regulators in the West, in America particularly, are a bunch of clowns and are putting us well behind where the innovation is happening, which is frustrating, but that's another topic.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure in America we can catch up quick if we want to.
We want to, for sure. But what BlackRock decides they want to use blockchain, that it'll happen real quick.
Yeah, yeah. I want to ask about some details when it came to creating the art of Dokkaebi. Um, how did you guys select well, we know how you selected the theme, but what about the look and feel of the series? Kind of has like a papery kind of parchment type of feeling to me, at least, with a little bit of watercolor. Um, and what about the traits? What are some of your favorite traits, you personally, that I know you're a surfer. You're a surfer, right?
Yeah, I am.
So, were you the guy who threw in the surfer traits, and maybe what are some of your other favorite parts of the art?
Can definitely claim the surfer trait. I appreciate the compliment about the art. Like, we could have made a shiny PFP, Zuki, Dokio style art, and we didn't because we wanted to do something that was kind of referencing the scrolls and the folk tale, and like you pointed out, the watercolor style of the Dokkaebi, almost like the Dokkaebi characters are being pulled from history, right? But it's an interesting point that you bring up about art style, and we're not married to it either. Like, I think it will evolve and grow, especially as we start to foray into the Korean market, where they have different standards in terms of art aesthetics. So I think that the art vibe of the Dokkaebi project is going to be one that evolves over time, depending on what we use the character and IP for. As for in terms of the art traits, definitely there was two buckets here. There was like Joseon Dynasty inspired, true historical, accurate clothing and traits from history, and then the second was just things that modern Korean culture. So that could be like the Squid Games trait, or the Sunny trait, like the football player, soccer player, and then the third was just like things that we knew Koreans like to do. So there was climbing, there was basketball, there was BTS, there was a bunch of different stuff, and of course, as a surfer, I'm a creator on a NFT project. I always got to have a surfer trait in there. So that's just
Yeah, definitely some really cool choices. And I think, yeah, it just looks very unique and has a nice feel. And that's why it stands out. I think, but you mentioned that the art can change. So what do you mean? Will holders, like, are you planning some type of, I don't even know, like, are you planning a system where people can adjust the look of their NFTs for a reason or another? Elaborate, please.
not gonna say that. So definitely, like, no promises on on like dynamic NFTs or art upgrades or anything like that. I think more what I'm saying is that the Dokkaebi is a brand, and just like Mickey Mouse, like, evolved over time for different use cases. Like, you could imagine that Dokkaebi could evolve over time for different use cases, right? So the art in NFTs, and the original collection might have a very different intention than the application of Dokkaebi in the Korean market for a certain thing, right? And so maybe the character of the Dokkaebi might be reimagined in a very slight way for that purpose. We're keeping it pretty open-ended, but again, the point is always to grow the IP, to grow the character in a way that is successful and that the holders are going to get value from.
What's an existing brand that a lot of people would recognize, that when you were building Dokkaebi, you referenced in your mind a lot as inspiration for something or another, whether it be like, I don't know. It's an open-ended question. You can approach it from like a marketing standpoint, or maybe a structural standpoint, or end game, where you'd want the series to be in a couple of years. But yeah, what were your inspirations in terms of others who came before?
Great question. I keep coming back to the Pudgy Penguins example, but I say it because I think it's one of the few NFT projects that have really done it correct. And so I think they will always, Luca and that team will always be an example of how to properly create a brand and then tie that back to utility and value for the holders. So Pudgy Penguins is a huge inspiration for us. In terms of the art, and in terms of like the cultural vibe of the project, I think Azuki was also a big inspiration for us, but we were very conscious about not biting their style because they're Japanese, right? And we're Korean. And so we really wanted to create a authentic Korean brand. And so I think the art definitely reflects that.
Yeah, it feels that way. Any hot takes about crypto in general right now? I know as someone who had your own startup, I don't know if that was a crypto startup or not. But you said you're a little jaded by crypto, probably been here a couple of years at least, I'm assuming after that comment. What are some of your hot takes that you have maybe for this upcoming year that you don't think many people are thinking about? Let's get a little spicy for a second.
Yeah, we can get spicy. My startup was not in crypto. I've worked at startups in crypto. I've worked at major blockchains. Been in the space for almost 10 years now. But my startup was in CPG, so like health and wellness, beverages, and consumer packaged goods. But in terms of spicy takes on crypto, I mean, I think it's just all rotational liquidity, right? And the vast majority of these projects, anything that pumps, anything that relies on a pump is never going to last. It's all about injection of liquidity, greater fool's theory, who can get out first with a bag. And that's just the nature of the free markets. And it doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean that the tech isn't going to be impactful. In fact, the reason why I build on blockchain is because I think it has incredible transformative powers to be better democratizing and making, as corny as it sounds, like the world a better place, or at least like more efficient. But yeah, I think like most projects out there are just trying to do whatever they can to pump the floor, to pump the token, to pump the floor price, whatever it may be. And we have a different mindset, and we're really trying to build something that is sustainable and has value. And for us, the way to do that is to go beyond crypto Twitter. So, I mean, I think a lot of people, flippers, degens, whatever, might be a little frustrated with us in this first week because we're not trying to play the floor price game or anything like that, because we're solely focused on expanding our reach IRL in Korea to grow this brand for the long term. I'm not trying to sound like a hater, by the way. Like, I love crypto. I'm a degen. I ape in the meme coins. I'm a top 100 holder of Cock, the meme coin on Avalanche. Like, this is all fun and I'm about it. But just, I want to call a spade here a little bit about the crypto market and know that our team is trying to execute for something that is going to be able to stay around for a long time.
And where's that new liquidity going to come from? I do somewhat agree, even strongly agree that since the last cycle, we haven't really seen a lot of new capital flow into the ecosystem. So naturally, the existing capital is flowing around from place to place, obviously looking for the best opportunities. Is the new capital, the new liquidity influx, where could that come from? Is it institutional adoption? Is it like some killer app, like a social fire, gaming thing? Do you think it's possibly just the natural cycle of crypto? It goes, people come in, people go out. Where do you think that capital might come from?
All the above, man. I think you said it exactly right. Like, I think institutional adoption, regulatory clarity within the West is going to drive, large funds and banks and things to have more holdings within the crypto market, which is then going to lead to more retail consumers entering the market as well. And then ultimately it's about use cases, right? So like you said it perfectly, you need a killer app, you need things that actually people want to use, and that will drive more users, that will drive more liquidity to the markets. So overall, I'm very bullish on the space. That's why I'm here. But in order for the space to succeed, it needs to find product market fit, and it has to create things that people actually want to use and pay for.
Yeah, man, 100%. We're getting there, but it's a long road. Guys, thank you. Audience members, thank you all so much for tuning in here. This has, we're going to wrap up the episode. Bada, do you have anything else you want to share with us? What's the next thing that our audience should do? Obviously, follow him on X, follow Dokkaebi Network on X, follow Folks Finance, keep up with what we're doing. You mentioned you have a space on Friday. Tell us a little about that. What should we be looking forward to?
Yeah, I'm super excited for that. If there's one thing I'd ask of you guys is to come to the space on Friday. We're going to reveal part of the roadmap. We're going to unredact redacted, which was always like our code word for the roadmap. It's going to be fun. And I just, a general statement, we'd love for you to join Dokkaebi. Please never overinvest. Only invest what you're comfortable losing, but I think that we are building something really awesome for the long term, and we'd love to have you along for the ride.
Yeah, guys, get into Dokkaebi. It's great. Water's warm. I love it. What else? Yeah, you audience members, you guys can join. You still have about 24 hours or so to join the giveaway that we're doing together, the big giveaway. So the one for just the space is closed. I'll contact those winners today. If you won the Dokkaebi or the 1000x algo, congratulations. But there's still the other 9,000x algo and 9 Dokkaebi that are being given away in the larger giveaway we're doing. So just to quickly explain it, and you can find all the information if you click the tweet that's at the top of the space. But if you hold 10 Dokkaebi or more, you could win 1000x algo, or if you contribute $50 of value at least to one of the X algo pools on Trader Joe, you could win a Dokkaebi. So pretty good overall, great opportunities for both communities, and highly recommend people join in because it's easy to get in. That's kind of all for today. Thank you so much, Bada, for coming through. We really appreciate it. Just super happy to have this collaboration with you guys, and I'm really excited for the work that you're doing. So we'll definitely be watching.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys, and have a great day, and thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you too. Thank you everybody for coming. Follow everybody who's a speaker here. Make sure you keep up with what we're all doing. Remember, guys, if you're in the Avalanche community, you're going to be seeing a lot more of Folks Finance over the next couple months and throughout this year. We're really going to be coming in heavier and heavier. So just stay tuned with what we're doing. If you like DeFi, then we're probably for you. Thank you everybody for coming through. We'll see you on the next episode.